Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. So the standard criticism of this verse is that it couldn't possibly have happened, because if it did happen, we would have loads of other sources that have written about it, and that would make sense unless it's the case that not that many children actually were killed here, and that is the position I would like to argue for. So if you imagine a typical village, the number of children being born is actually not going to be that high. Like, we're not talking about hundreds or even dozens of people being killed here necessarily. Now the counter here would be to say, well, firstly, it also says in all the coasts thereof. However, if you actually look at a map, you'll see that Bethlehem is incredibly close to Jerusalem. It would be incredibly uncharitable to think that we're supposed to be reading this as saying that Jerusalem, the capital with tens of thousands of people in it, was also included in this slaughter of the innocents. This is actually quite a small catchment area that must be being described, and as such, it probably just includes hamlets, small cottages, and farmhouses on the outskirts of Bethlehem that just weren't technically part of the city, but again, not extending massively beyond it. Oh, by the way, I should just clarify, in the King James it says all the coasts thereof. That just means the surrounding area. This is just an antiquated way of saying that. And apart from that, people will argue, because it says from 2 years old and under, that this must have been including a lot of children. However, you've got to bear in mind they didn't have birth certificates at the time. They wouldn't have been able to know who exactly was under 2 years old, because Herod didn't want to take any chances here. So he would have given a broad directive to kill anyone who looks like they could be under 2 years old. But in practice, that doesn't necessarily mean that anybody who fell under that age would have been killed. Now you might say, okay, so this was only the children in the quite immediate surrounding area of Bethlehem. Even still, this should have been something where we'd expect to see other people giving an account of this. But actually, if you just consider recent history, you can see where that's pretty much nonsense. There was that movie Killers of the Flower Moon, which was all about this conspiracy to murder a bunch of Native Americans. Most people didn't know that was happening when it happened. It was just something that got swept under the rug and ignored. And there are many other examples like this of atrocities that happen even in our age of mass media that people just ignore because there needs to be someone to shine a light on it. Like, at many points in history, there have been these massive injustices where rich, powerful people have just done what they wanted, and people felt like there was no way to actually get out the word of what had happened, never mind getting justice for it. And I think rather than not believing that it could possibly be true that no one else had written about this, we should realize there are many things happening right now, serious injustices, which a lot of people don't know about. And maybe we should be like Matthew and try and find out the injustices that are happening in the world and bring those to light, even if they're just happening in small, irrelevant places people might not think much of. And the idea this can't have happened because otherwise other people would have written about it, and therefore we shouldn't take the nativity account seriously, it's not a good argument.